I was a high school teacher. I taught at Syracuse City School. So after the treatment, I did go back to my job because I wanted to prove it to myself that yes, I can do it. So I taught for several years and then I took retirement and now I do things that make me happy. I mean, teaching made me happy too, but now I do a lot of volunteering. My kids got married, I have 3 grandkids, so I do spend time. So I mean, lots of positives. So I look at the positive now. They did the mammogram, everything is good. Came home. Next morning I was taking a shower and there was a huge lump on my left breast near the nipple. And I was like, totally, what happened? What did she do to me? So I called my doctor, went there, they thought it was a hematoma. So they treated me for a couple of weeks with antibiotics and nothing. It was there and growing. So then she sent me to the doctor, a breast doctor, and she surgically took it out. The results came back and we were sitting with the doctor and she said, it's an aggressive form of cancer and we need to start the treatment like yesterday. As soon as it was diagnosed, the next day we were sitting at the doctor's office, my oncologist, and then she suggested that we do a lot of chemo first, make sure that it stops growing, and then we'll do the surgery, and then go back to chemo. So I had about 3-4 months of chemo, and then we did the surgery. When I was healing from the surgery, they stopped the chemo because otherwise the wounds won't heal. I still have side effects, like the fingertips are still numb, and now my body is used to it. Otherwise I used to drop things, and yeah, so the side effects are still there. My taste buds, the taste bud for sweet hasn't come back, so I don't eat sweet, which is a good thing. First decision was to go with one breast surgery or bilateral. So we did sit down and talk with Dr. Greco, and she said that if you had asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have said, don't go for bilateral. But at my age, I had already had my kids and everything, and people were already going for bilateral because according to her, it reoccurs in a few years, so get rid of both the breast. We're sitting with Dr. Daboni, and he said that people are, you have a choice of silicone implant or TRAM. So the difference is that if you gain weight, you lose weight, the TRAM kind of go, that it's your body tissue, and then there are less chances of your body rejecting it because it's your own body tissue. There were 2 doctors working on me at the same time. One did the mastectomy, and at the same time, the other doctor did the reconstruction using the TRAM. So it was a lengthy, I think it was about 12-hour surgery. My mother-in-law was there, and the husband, and of course the kids were there. They take the tissue from your abdomen and construct the breast out of it. They connect all the nerves and veins and arteries, and so they just take the tissue from here and put it up there. And like I said, it's amazing. It's really amazing what they do with it. I was amazed. And I never saw myself without a breast because the mastectomy and the reconstruction was done at the same time. So I think that was a positive thing for me because after the surgery, when I looked at myself, they were my breast, but they were not my breast. Of course, there was no nipple, but it was different, but it was still I had my breast. So, and I knew that, okay, this is my own tissue that they've used. So I think mentally it was good for me. It was tough, but it was good for me. the diagnosis and the treatment and all, it was so quick that I really didn't have time to think. And then what I had told my husband and the kids, don't go on the internet. I mean, you can go on the internet and look up all the side effects of all these drugs, but just don't tell me, because I wasn't ready to hear all that. So I think the recovery after everything was done, then it was the toughest part for me. Because why did it happen to me? It was just too difficult for me to deal with the after of the whole thing, because people were like being too sympathetic towards me. Oh, you went. I said, but no, look at me, I'm here. And it's just the dealing after the whole thing was really, really tough for me. And I didn't go to India for several years because I just didn't want that people looking at me different. My outlook on life has totally changed. I just take one day at a time, and nothing actually bothers me anymore. I was a perfectionist. This has to be done like this. Children, you have to do this. But after that, nothing really bothers me. I just take one day at a time. Life is good. I didn't wear a wig during my treatment. I had a little red hat, and I kept smiling because now they tell, I said, if I would cry, none of you would come and visit me. So I think that smile took me through rough times. I'm just enjoying every single day. That is one thing that I'm really, really proud of myself. I went back to classical Indian dance. After all this treatment, after all these years, I'm learning Kathak and I'm performing now. So I'm doing things that make me really happy. And I just don't want to think about what I went through. I don't feel less of a woman, but lots of times when I look in the mirror, the reconstruction is amazing, but the breast is not the same because there are no nipples. So when I look in the mirror, I do feel, yes, I'm different. But otherwise, I really don't feel any difference. And if somebody starts to talk to me about, oh, geez, I'm like, no. Let's just talk about happy times now. So maybe I just don't want to talk about breast cancer anymore. Actually, yes, my husband, that is one thing I really give him a lot of credit. Through everything, thin and thin, he stood by me, and he never made me feel that I have changed at all. And yeah. Every time, I dress up, whatever, he actually appreciates me a lot more now than he did before. So he does make me feel very special, and I give him a lot of credit for that. Don't keep it to yourself. Reach out to people. It doesn't matter if you're reaching out to people who are survivors or not, but do share it with people and reach out to people, because there are so many people out there who are willing to help, and one does need a lot of help during this treatment and recovery time. So I did reach out to a whole bunch of everybody that I know in Syracuse and in India and everywhere else. Everybody knew about it. My husband's a very private person, and that is one thing I kept telling him, we need to reach out to people. Because you and I, we cannot do it by ourselves. There is a life after, and it's a good life after breast cancer. We just have to look at the positives after the treatment is done. And yes, the treatment is tough, it's long. I went through a long treatment, lots of surgeries I went through, and but life is beautiful after all this. We just have to look and enjoy.